Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. Our lead story of the day is regarding yesterday's White House press briefing where Jake Tapper is questioned on the Chinese spy balloon and if Joe Biden is going to push back on Xi Jinping when he visits him in San Francisco. We also have another reporter questioning the results of the United States attacking Iranian terrorist proxy groups in Syria and if it's actually doing anything. And lastly, we have another reporter going full Peter Doocy on the White House. Can't wait to show you guys that clip. We got a bunch of news today. Before we jump into anything, support a true American patriot by hitting that like and subscribe button. Leave us a short, sweet comment down below. Share this link with your friends and family all over social media. With that being said, let's roll it.
That you guys see this as an important meeting on Wednesday, but I'm curious, will the president, during his time with the Chinese president, try to hold China accountable for the spy balloon this year? I know obviously it seems like it was 20 years ago, but it was this year. The Chinese have said it was still a weather balloon. They said they should get the technology back. What kind of response are we going to see from the president this week on the spy balloon?
Well, as I said before, I'm going to let the president be able to sit down with President Xi and speak to him person to person, face to face, and again, not be doing diplomacy from the podium, and we can report to you afterwards, consistent with whatever is appropriate to share publicly on these issues. But I will say that President Biden took steps to take down that balloon once it was safe to do so and out of potential harm's way to civilians.
They're gonna still push this. They are gonna still push this messaging of, well, we had to wait till it was over the Atlantic to shoot it down because we wanted to make sure it didn't fall on any buildings. You guys, it flew over the entire United States. Do you know how much open land there is? Don't believe this one bit. It's so insane. This is the best they got in messaging. We wanted to make sure it was safe. Oh, God.
We were able to recover it, to exploit it. And from our perspective, the critical thing is that because we were able to protect ourselves along the way of that path, we do not feel that there was any information gained that was problematic. And so the United States, the president, is going to focus at this point on how he stands up for and protects American interests going forward across the full range of challenges in this relationship, of which this is one.
Do you want China to apologize?
Folks, short answer, because they didn't deem it as problematic, and that, it was just basically a weather balloon, according to the Chinese, and it seems so as Joe Biden as well thinks the same thing, that he's not even going to question the guy on it. Because there is no pushback from the United States when Joe Biden's in office on the Chinese, regardless of whatever they do. And by the way, nobody in here, not a single reporter, said, hey, is Joe Biden going to question the Chinese and the president of the Communist Party there on the release of COVID-19 upon the entire globe? Is that not going to be the center of a discussion either? So it seems like we're not going to have any pushback on this dude regarding spy balloons, building a makeshift island in the, the Indo-Pacific, I think it is. Let's see, COVID-19, the spy base in Cuba. We're not going to question the guy on any of that. Find it a little odd, folks, a little odd. It makes you wonder how much dirt the Chinese have on Joe Biden and the Biden family.
Apologize?
Again, I'm going to let President Biden speak to President Xi. I'm not going to stand here from the podium and kind of create threats or raise questions or make particular demands, because I think that will not be the most effective way to secure the diplomatic outcomes the American people are looking for. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. So the question was, if you missed it, was, is there going to be an apology that's going to take place here? Anything at all? Clearly, don't have any expectations from the White House regarding any pushback or anything of the sort regarding the meeting with the president of China. And by the way, just expect us to get screwed on any negotiations coming from the Biden administration with the Chinese. That should be your expectation. Don't expect us to get anything out of this whole thing. We're going to be the ones that are going to get screwed at the end of the day. Well, here's a follow-up question regarding the United States going after Iranian terrorist proxy groups in Syria and bombing facilities because they're going after our soldiers. And even after we continue to bomb them, they are still going after our soldiers, meaning at which whatever we're doing is clearly not working still, which they've been questioned on numerous amounts of times, from Karine Jean-Pierre to Jake Sullivan now to John Kirby. They're all giving the same answer. But again, our retaliation to what they're doing to our soldiers is not enough, because clearly they keep doing it. Here's the question.
Yeah.
The U.S. yesterday launched its third round of strikes against facilities tied to Iran that were in Syria. I mean, you've said that this is in part to try to deter other attacks against U.S. service members, but in the hours since that attack, at least 4 times U.S. forces were hit in an attack. So how is this a success if these incidents keep happening over and over?
Our goal over time is to ensure that our forces are protected and that we respond if we get hit. That is what we have done. That is what we will continue to do. And this should be measured over the course of time, not over the course of 24 hours. Now,
I would like to point out, again, this is the same messaging from Karine, Jean-Pierre, and John Kirby on the podium, that we're going to wait until U.S. soldiers die before we actually do anything drastic to where the Iranians and the terrorist proxy groups that are being funded by the Iranians actually get it through their thick skull that we're not screwing around. So what has to happen here is our boots on the ground, wherever they're at, Iraq, Afghanistan, doesn't matter, they have to die before Joe Biden wakes his bleep up and actually retaliates in a way that hopefully would stop this stuff from happening. So that's what needs to take place clearly with this White House, to wake up and go, oh, we should probably do something that stops this and nips it in the butt. They're not willing to do it. The foreign policy is so weak from this administration, it's head spinning.
Now, if Iranian proxies continue to strike American forces, we will continue to respond. President Biden has been straightforward about that. We have followed through on that. We will continue to follow through on that, because the president's view is ultimately he has got to look out and safeguard the security and the physical safety of all of our forces in both Iraq and Syria. We're going to continue to do that, and we have made clear that if we continue to get hit, we will respond. Yeah.
Updated timeline for when the current funding to Ukraine is going to run.
It's baffling, you guys. If you're shaking your head like this is insane, you're not wrong. It is insane to expect a terrorist proxy group to sit there and kill U.S. soldiers before you retaliate in a way of which is measurable, that gets a point across of we ain't screwing around. But like I mentioned, the Biden administration is going to kowtow. They're going to freaking get on their knees and blow whoever they need to, because everybody's running roughshod over us, whether it's Russia, China, Iran now, Hamas, the other terrorist proxy groups around the world. Hey, they're all just, getting money from Joe Biden to the point where we're just allowing them to do whatever they want nowadays. I don't know who this next reporter is, but she is like Peter Doocy 2.0. Somebody, for the love of baby Jesus, find out who this reporter is and let me know in the live chat in the comment section her name, because she deserves it, man. Talk about just laying down the law here regarding Gavin Newsom and the Dems' debauchery that's been going on in their cities, specifically in San Francisco, and the whole idea of how Gavin Newsom basically cleaned up the streets for this summit that's going to take place here. And, well, here's the question and response from Jake Happer.
Yeah.
San Francisco has cleaned up their streets ahead of President Biden and President Xi's meeting. They've moved homeless to other parts of the city, cleared tent cities, and trash off the street. Is the president embarrassed that an American city needs to go through a total makeover to be presentable for his out-of-town guests?
The president is incredibly proud of the record that the United States will bring as host to this summit. And I went through some of it today. The strongest economic record of any developed country, the lowest unemployment over a sustained period in half a century, far-reaching investments in innovation, in chips, rebuilding America's infrastructure. So actually, Joe Biden thinks he is walking into the summit on the front foot and able to showcase the United States as the premier destination for investment, good job-creating investment here in the United States, all of which will be on display while he is there. And the countries of the world who are coming with a recognition that the United States is in a strong, indeed for a lot of people, an enviable economic position. And that is going to, I think, sustain him very effectively through the course of the week.
What a bogus answer, you guys. What a bogus answer. Oh, Joe Biden's going in with this foot front or whatever the hell he said. That foot's going to have human feces on the bottom of it, because that's San Francisco for you, where there's fecal matter everywhere. They cleared out the entire homeless encampments. They cleared out drug markets, you guys. It's so bad where literally Gavin Newsom and the rest of these Democrats in California have created such a bleep storm down there that even a communist would look at it and be like, whoa. So that tells you everything you need to know right there. She's going to continue here.
Yeah.
Newsom said of the cleanup this. I know folks are saying, oh, they're just cleaning up this place because all those fancy leaders are coming to town. That's true. Does President Biden agree it's more important to impress the leader of China than the American people that live in San Francisco and pay taxes every day?
First,
Damn, dude. Damn. I told you. She went full Savage Peter Ducey on the White House. I love this woman. I don't know who she is, but we got to figure it out. I got to find her on Instagram. She's my Peter Ducey / my, wow, I'm blanking on names. Philip Wegman and Jackie Heinrich. She might be number 4 on the list, folks. Whoa.
I completely reject the premise of your question, but secondly, I don't know what the context of what Governor Newsom said, so I won't respond to it.
Of course you won't, because you just got shellacked, bro. You got destroyed with that question, and you didn't know how to answer it. Well done to whoever you are. You deserve the highest praise from that press briefing. But as you saw, there's not going to be any pushback from Joe Biden regarding the summit on COVID-19, to the Cuban spy base, to the spy balloon flying over our country, which wasn't the only one from China. I mean, you name it. There is just nothing Joe Biden's going to do here on anybody. And how could he? I mean, the guy doesn't know what's going on. Nobody takes him seriously. We've seen video. Do you all remember that video clip where he's on like the round table with like the G6 or the G12 or whatever it was? And he like says something, and then Boris Johnson, I believe it was, the Prime Minister of England, kind of tells the president that he's already introduced. It was like the leader of Africa or something like that, somebody in Africa or whatever. And everybody just starts laughing at Joe because he doesn't know what's going on. It's just, he's a joke. He's a joke. And China knows he is. Well, moving into our next story of the day, an internal State Department memo says Israel is committing war crimes in Gaza. So if this is true, you got the Israelis committing war crimes, you got Hamas committing war crimes. So what do you do when two people are at war with one another and they're both committing war crimes? I don't know. I have no idea. But here we go. The memo that was obtained by Axios was signed by 100 State Department and USAID employees and urges senior officials to reassess U.S.'s policy toward Israel and demand a ceasefire for Israel's response to a deadly terrorist attack carried out by Hamas on October 7th. Quote, members of the White House and the National Security Council displayed a clear disregard for the lives of Palestinians, a documented unwillingness to de-escalate, and even prior to October 7th, a reckless lack of strategic foresight, the memo states. The document also criticizes President Joe Biden for questioning the number of Palestinian deaths, addressing a statement he recently made saying he has no confidence in the death count. What that sounds like to me is these 100 people in the State Department, which the State Department's massive, are clearly on the side of the Palestinians and potentially on the side of Hamas. And it's not too far-fetched, folks, to have that. It's a conspiracy, okay? It's just an idea, maybe a rumor. It's not too far-fetched. I mean, you got people in Congress, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, saying super anti-Semitic things, like talking about genocidal things. So it's not out of the question there's people within the State Department and the USAID saying, look, we're side with the Palestinians and Hamas. I understand there is a difference, but not much of one, because the Palestinians are basically supporting Hamas, remember, as an elected branch of the government in a nutshell, if you want to phrase it that way. And I haven't seen much from the Palestinians across the world really coming out and saying, hey, you know what? I don't like Hamas. I think Israel has the right to destroy them. And I don't see the Palestinians taking up arms with the Israelis and going after Hamas. Hamas is the one that caused this whole ish. It's terrible what's happening on both sides. But again, that's my assessment. I've watched hours upon hours. I could probably count on one hand the amount of interviews I've seen where nobody walked the fine line. They just condemned Hamas and said, you know what? Israel has every right to take out Hamas as it is. Hamas is committing war crimes. It's terrible what's happened with the Palestinians, but the Palestinians elected Hamas. The Palestinians are not rising, taking up arms to work with Israel to go after Hamas, which has caused this whole ish. I haven't seen any of that, which to me is insane. I don't understand it. So there's this fine line of we hate Hamas, but at the same time we love Hamas because Israel has done atrocities to the Palestinians over time, and they got what's gotten to them. That's in a nutshell, that's what I've seen. Around 1,400 people were killed on October 7th. Over the past month, Israel has dropped more bombs on Gaza, which is roughly the size of Manhattan, than the U.S. dropped on Afghanistan during the course of a year. Now, which year is that? Did we clearly not drop enough bombs on Afghanistan? I don't know. The State Department's memo says we strongly recommend that the U.S. government advocate for the release of hostages by both Hamas and Israel, as if they aren't doing that. Citing thousands of Palestinians being held in Israel, including those without charge, Axios reported. I also want to kind of go back to the point where the document's criticizing Joe Biden by not having confidence in the death count that's being supplied by whether it's Hamas or the Palestinians. Hamas is a terrorist organization. I don't blame Joe Biden here for not having confidence in a terrorist organization's death count. The same people that fabricate deaths in the past, we're just supposed to take their count willy-nilly? That's why I think these State Department people are a little lopsided towards Hamas. The State Department memo says, again, we strongly recommend the U.S. government advocate for release of hostages. We are doing that. Like, I'm not going to bash Joe on everything here. He is pushing for a hostage release. What is he supposed to do? Do you know what I mean? He's doing, I'm sure, everything he can on that side of it to try to figure this ish out. Maybe. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, folks. Calm down over there, okay? Have a sip of coffee with me. Everybody chill out because we gave Joe Biden a pat on the back for a second. That's good coffee, though. If you haven't already, get yourself a mug, folks. Drink out of the Bald Brad Show mug. It's good. It's pristine. It's all American, bro. So I'm not... Okay, Joe Biden could be screwing up things with Israel. I'm not sure. But I do think at least the handling of supporting the Israelis for basically their 9/11 is our job as allies. And I wouldn't take a terrorist organization's numbers any day. I wouldn't even deal with a terrorist organization in any matter. Joe Biden will to some extent. Again, Joe Biden wants to give Iran $6 billion. He gave Hamas, in a nutshell, $100 million. That now Hamas is taking that humanitarian aid for themselves. They're not giving the fuel to hospitals, of which they're supposed to. They're using hospitals as command centers now. And Joe Biden's come out and said, oh, well, don't bomb the hospitals. That's a tough call, folks, because you don't want to bomb hospitals of which civilians are in. That's a terrible thing. But at the same time what do? You send, the IDF into the hospital and kind of just go ground to ground combat with these guys? It sounds like that's the only option here. Look, there's war crimes in that regard right there. I don't know what you do. That's the only option. If you don't want to kill civilians with bombs, you have to go in boots on the ground and do it old dirty way. Well, moving into our next story of the day, we talked about illegal immigrants yesterday leaving Chicago because things are so bad in Chicago that they're willing to go back to Venezuela in their home country because Democrats can't run things whatsoever. So right here, border residents grow frustrated as migrants destroy property and leave trash. We've covered similar stories in the past where you had thousands of these migrants kind of populating one area at the southern border that are being held by Border Patrol agents. But when they finally either got let into the interior of the country or sent back home, there was just tons worth of trash left behind. If they're willing to do this on like their first week here, can you imagine how they're going to treat our country when they're given just full roughshod over it, which is Democrats' agenda at the end of the day? It says here dozens or sometimes hundreds of migrants pass through private property along the California-Mexico border daily. According to local landlords who say they feel helpless as human caravans cut through their land. Quote, if I had the money, I would build my own wall right here. This comes from Hot Springs resident Brian Silvas. The U.S.-Mexico border wall ends a few feet into his 70-acre property, which is about 75 miles east, of San Diego, and every day he witnesses migrants trekking across his land. Quote, sometimes there are huge groups of men and women, and I don't want them through here. The country was built on immigration. I'm fine with that, but not like this. This is ridiculous. Again, I think this individual does a fabulous job of separating the idea of legal immigration versus illegal immigration. Democrats, can't get it through their head. San Diego Border Patrol agents encountered over, are you sitting down for this number? Are you freaking sitting down for this number? I say this every time, but until we get a Republican, hopefully Trump back in office, you're going to see these numbers for a long time. San Diego Border Patrol agents encountered 230,000 migrants in 2023 fiscal year that ended in September. Just San Diego, you guys, 230,000 migrants in a year. Chicago can't handle 19,000 migrants in a year. They're fleeing. They're going, we're going back home. It's so bad here. According to U.S. Customs and Border Protection data, the highest in decades. By comparison, the sector had 176,000 encounters last year and just 53,000 in 2020, meaning things have progressively gotten worse year after year, which is why Joe Biden continues to shatter records year after year. He is shattering his own record. You will probably never see a sitting president, I hope so, ever come close to these numbers again. This is grounds for me. This is grounds for impeachment for me. This is a clear dereliction of duty. You are setting national security levels of terrorist porn across our country at record levels. You have memos being sent to Border Patrol down at the southern border, saying that Iran is going to be utilizing the open southern border as a way to get proxy groups into our country to commit terrorist acts. That's not from me. That's from the FBI director, Christopher Wray. That's also from DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, as knucklehead as he is. It was still coming from him. Even, it is so bad that even that dude, the bald guy, the Alejandro Mayorkas guy, the magnets, Brett, that guy that told Congress that the border is secure, even though it's open, that dude even goes like a month or two ago, we need a border wall because now it's gotten too far. So it took them like 10 million illegal immigrants to figure out that, oh, this is bad, that there's no solution to this, and maybe we should have a border wall. You know, but maybe I'm asking too much of this Biden administration to have their head on straight and actually lead the country in the right direction. But I mean, you know, clearly that ain't going to happen. His remarks were in response to a leaked Customs Border Patrol memo for the San Diego field office stating individuals inspired by or reacting to the current Israel-Hamas conflict may cross into the United States via the southern border. There you go. There you go. The memo of which I was just referring to. Roughly 5 miles east of Silva's home, also along the border, you have this couple who are also experiencing a migrant emergency, one they feel helpless to stop. Quote, the government should do something to stop this illegal immigration. Stop it because the migrants aren't helping us. They are destroying us. The migrants have more rights than we do. Preach it. Preach it. People go, oh, that's not true. Oh, no, they're kicking out our veterans in New York City and other Democrat localities out of their hotel rooms. The same guys that served this country in Afghanistan and Iraq, they're getting in the boot. They're having to live on the streets while these illegal immigrants who came here illegally are getting full-fledged food, 3-course meal, housing now, the hotel rooms of which our veterans were in at first. They're getting our education. They're getting our health care. It's a fact. It's a fact. The couple regularly sees migrants camping on their 17-acre property. Tents, clothes, and trash are frequently left behind. One group dismantled the couple's fence to use it for firewood, destroying somebody's property to use it for firewood. You think the Biden administration is going to sit there and compensate them? Of course not. The Biden administration is not even compensating Arizona, Texas, or their own Democrat states on this stuff, folks. Mayor Eric Adams, as much as a knucklehead he is, declares a state of emergency for New York City and begs the Biden administration for billions of dollars because of what's happened to his infrastructure. And Joe Biden's like, So everybody's getting screwed at the end of the day. I wish it was predominantly Democrat cities that were being screwed because they're the ones that caused this mess, but we're also being screwed as Republicans. Furthermore, this goes back like 2 years ago, I think at this point, early on, when Biden became president, air quotes for that's on audio, because we all know the foozery that took place. When he became president, what was happening was you had this massive flow of illegal immigration coming across the border, and these ranchers had never seen anything like this. They would find like a dead body like once every 10 years. They were finding dozens and dozens of dead bodies on their property. I wish Fox or somebody like Newsmax or whatever would do a follow-up on that now that we've reached 10 million people pouring across the border. I hope or wish that they would follow up with that to see how many people are now dying on these properties. Because again, 2.5 years ago, it was just some crazy number. But I'm curious on a follow-up. But, you know, illegal immigrants are leaving trash now, destroying people's property, and that's just lovely. But, hey, we're going to let them in. No, they've committed multiple crimes, right? I mean, literally, they came here illegally. That's a crime. You destroyed somebody's property. That's a crime. You're on somebody's property, which is trespassing, which is a crime. I mean, how many crimes do you need until you realize, like, oh, these people aren't just here for a better life. They're not going to assimilate to our country in which they say they're going to. And we don't even know who the hell they are. Some of them are genuinely good people, folks. Okay, I said this yesterday. I have to find myself explaining the obvious, that not every illegal immigrant is a terrorist. Not every illegal immigrant is out to harm people. Some of them are genuinely good people. Some of them just want a better life. They are in tough situations, whatever it may be. That is so obvious, but we have to say it for the Democrats and the left because they can't connect the dots for us, folks. They're out there. You understand what I mean? They're far out there. Like, they are not on planet Earth when it comes to making connections. Some of them are. A lot of them actually are. But the ones that are the libs and the lefties, not so much. If you're a Democrat, we love having you here on the show, but you got to figure out this whole illegal migration, this homeless stuff, everything that's going on, because it's destroying this country from the inside out and the localities. So much so that we actually wrote a book on it called Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. We got a lot of new subscribers here, folks. We'd love your support. Buy the book. Hey, if you guys bought it, let them know how good it is in the live chat. We got a lot of regulars. I know you guys left us Amazon reviews. If you bought it off Amazon, can you leave leave us a 5-star. We're trying to grow here. We're trying to sell some copies. Holidays are coming up, folks. It's a great Thanksgiving gift. It's a great Christmas gift. 'Tis the season to the Democrats. If you got friends, Lord knows they need it, folks. They need it more than ever to see how their own party's destroying this country from the inside out. And hell, has been doing so since the party's inception. Well, moving into our last story of the day. If you recall from the first segment, you got a wonderful reporter just absolutely destroying the White House with a question here on the idea of Gavin Newsom clearing out these homeless encampments for this summit, this APEC summit that's taking place. Now, for those that don't live in Southern California, I have to explain this because it has to do with homelessness, but because of the homelessness and the Democrats not wanting to do their job, just screwed over millions of Americans. And I'm not exaggerating that at all. An LA freeway, I think it's the 10, we'll have to find out in the article. I just heard this because it just happened. The LA freeway closed indefinitely after massive fire compromises the structure. Massive fire is an understatement here. I'm just going to show you a quick image of this. That's what it looks like, okay? That is a piece of it, you guys. That's a piece of the puzzle. Just the whole place was ablaze. It was an insane looking thing. We'll see if we have videos and pictures for you. We'll see. This shut down. The 10 is done. The 10 is like a major artery for LA. For the, what's it called? The Angelians, I think they're called, or Angelonians, or whatever, something like that. California Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom declared a state of emergency over the weekend after a massive fire erupted at a homeless encampment beneath a major freeway near downtown Los Angeles, closing the thoroughfare's now compromised structure indefinitely and impacting hundreds of thousands of commuters. No. It's millions. It's millions. This is such a huge freeway and artery. The traffic is already terrible as it is. It takes hours to get to LA. It takes like 2 hours, about 2 hours to 3 hours sometimes to get to LA. It should take about 30 minutes. Okay, that's how bad traffic is now. Can you imagine how bad it's going to be? And you got to love that now he's declaring a state of emergency. How about you declare the state of emergency with you having a quarter of the homeless population in Los Angeles of where this happened? There is a homeless encampment burning every week, you guys. This is not anything new. They had to crack down on the homeless encampments that were on the riverbeds in Southern California because of the drug use, the prostitution, people smuggling individuals in and out of the area, the crime. I mean, it goes on, but also the fires that were taking place was creating a liability for the homes and businesses that were in the area. It happened on Venice Boulevard, the same thing, where they're giving these homeless people beachfront property, property that'd be worth millions of dollars if you had a home right there. They're getting beachfront property, but they were attacking citizens and they're attacking travelers, people just coming to have a nice vacation with hockey sticks, with their clothing, physically assaulting them as well, beating them with some sort of baton or whatever the hell they're carrying. But also you have the crime again. You have them looting the place. You have them taking a dump in front of pedestrians on the boardwalk right there. And lastly, amongst the many things, they were having these homeless encampments ablaze on a weekly basis because of the drugs, because of them just doing silly asinine things there, which they shouldn't be doing, whether it's lighting a trash can on fire or their own bedding. Hell, I don't know. So everybody saw this coming except Gavin Newsom and the Democrats who run the area. The state is mobilizing resources and taking steps to ensure any necessary repairs are completed as soon as possible to minimize the impact on those traveling in and around Los Angeles. More taxpayer dollars going towards this whole problem of which Democrats created. Perfect. More money out of our pockets. We're already showing out billions of dollars on this thing. And now, because you don't want to take the necessary steps to actually solving the issue and cracking down on this, we're having to spend more billions of dollars on this whole thing because you don't want to do your job. Another dereliction of duty by Democrats. How many times do I need to repeat that? I don't know, but they don't get it through their head. Not at all. We have video. According to the Los Angeles Fire Department, the blaze started around 12:30 a.m. on Saturday under Interstate 10 and quickly spread to a storage facility filled with pallets, trailers, and vehicles. Authorities said the flames engulfed both sides of the 14th Street underneath the portion of the freeway, melted steel guardrails, and damaged a number of fire trucks. So we got the footage here, folks. Give me 1 second to pull it up for you all. I want to make sure we get this crispy as we can. So, yeah, for those that's listening, holy smokes, this thing's on fire. Let's roll it. It's only like 9 seconds, but let's roll it. Look at that. Look at that. Can you imagine the bird's eye view on this bad boy? I mean, that is a fire. That is a fire. It's bad. It's bad. But, Democrats don't care. They're going to wait till something bad happens before they actually, do anything about it. It goes on to say this. The real problem is what lies underneath that the bridge deck, that's the primary focus now of our investigation, Newsom said during the press conference. We believe a lot of that did burn, how that may have impacted the infrastructure. LAFD, Los Angeles Fire Department, authorities said 164 firefighters battled the flames through the night to extinguish the fire. That's how bad it was. They couldn't get enough rigs down there. Fire chief said this in a news conference. Wind pushed the heat and the flames under the freeway and across the street and ignited a second storage yard. Although officials say the cause of the fire is yet to be determined, many residents speculated online that it's likely to have started in a homeless encampment. And where do they get that from? Gee, I don't know. This is a Google Street View of Lawrence and the 10 before the fire. What does that look like all to you? For those that are audio, just trash everywhere, bicycles, tents. You got a truck there with deflated tires. You got pallets in the back. Rainbow tent looks like in the back. I mean, this is everywhere, by the way. And this is clean. This is actually clean. Can you imagine what the real homeless encampments look like? This looks good. It's so wild. It's so wild, man. I really don't understand it. I try my best to understand how Democrats think this is acceptable. And I just can't come to terms with it. You read books, you try to listen to what they have to say. They're coming from a heart of empathy, but that empathy is resulting in this type of stuff. And they can't make the connection, you guys. Like it's impossible for them to just rationalize and make sense of what they're doing, what they're voting for. And then at the end of the day, you know who they're going to blame? You want to take a guess who they're going to blame for all of this stuff? Yes, it's Republicans. And you might be, how are they going to do that? You guys, there's these gentlemen that do on the street interviews, and they've gone to like Portland and these other lefty localities, and they go, would you ever vote Republican? Their answer is no, because Republicans are going to destroy our area. Let that sink in. Do you know how dumb you have to be to think that Republicans are the ones destroying your area? You have to be so stupid. There's no words that can quantify how dumb that individual is. I know that's harsh to say, but I'm not saying they're dumb on everything, but they're sure dumb on that regard. There's been places that haven't been Republican ran in 100+ years, and they're coming out going, no, Republicans are going to destroy our city. Have you looked around, you idiots? Democrats in those cities where there hasn't been a Republican in office longer than you've been alive, 100 years. And it's just completely in shambles. Just answer me this. How dumb are you? Honestly. You would have a better opportunity of increasing your chances of success of your locality by putting in a Republican than you are statistically of keeping a Democrat in office. You just taking that gamble makes your probability better. I know as I said yesterday, I'm preaching to the choir, man, but for the love of baby Jesus, man. Well, that's today's episode, folks. We did a little bit of a shorter one today. Yesterday was an hour. Today's roughly 30-something minutes, but you know I love you, folks. You know I love you to death. We got a freaking awesome community here. We're always in the live chat together. Thank you for always listening to me rant. And, you're patriots, folks. We have a join tab down here. If you want to give your hard-earned money, it's $4.99 a month or $9.99 if you want to go crazy. It all goes back into the show to grow this, to get conservative thought and ideas out there. You know we need it with the election coming up. We need your support. It allows me to do things of which I wouldn't be able to do if I was just doing this by myself. But your support goes a long, long way, folks. You hitting that like and subscribe button, leave us a comment down below. I've heard rumors if you go to our link up there, that the YouTube link, and you just copy and paste it somewhere. I heard that actually helps the algorithm. I don't know if that's true, but let's test it out. Would love your support on that. Send to a friend or family member and say, look, if you're not into the guy, just put him on mute. Just give him the watch time. He needs it. And we would love your help on that end. Again, hit that like and subscribe button. You watching all the way through does yeoman's work. And with that being said, I'll see you tomorrow here on the Bob Brett Show.